Hi guys, and welcome to the full tutorial for this toddler-sized pineapple hat. This is the 2 to 3T size and it fits my son perfectly. So to make this, you're going to need 75 yards of worsted weight yarn in 3 colors. So I am using yellow, brown, and orange. And I ran out of yellow, so as a trick, I'm using 2 fingering yarns held together to make one worsted weight yarn, just because I don't really have money to buy extra yellow yarn right now. But you just use regular worsted weight yarn for this. You're also going to need 50 yards of a green for the top. And for the toddler size, you use a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. And of course, you'll need a yarn needle for weaving in the ends. Now this is a full tutorial, so I'm going to show every single step. If you are someone who's more advanced with crochet and you just want to download the PDF pattern and follow that, you can find a link in the description to the PDF pattern. And you can download that. I believe it's 99 cents. Or you can just follow along for the tutorial for free. So let's get started. I'm going to start off with this brownish color, and we're going to start with the magic loop. So take your yarn with your tail down and put it over 2 fingers and wrap it around. So it crosses in the middle like this with a little X. Then take your crochet hook, go under, catch this yarn, pull up a loop, and you're going to chain 2. Now chains do not count as stitches. So this does not count as a stitch. So now I have my chain 2 right here, and I have a loop and a little end. So I'm going to do 12 double crochets into this loop and over this tail right here. So you know how to do a double crochet. If you don't know how to do a double crochet, I would recommend starting with my beginner's series and completing that course before you do any of my tutorials, so that you get familiar with all the stitches and everything. And if you can see here, I'm yarning over and then I'm going underneath both the loop and the tail. So you're going to do 12 double crochets into this. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And remember that your chain 2 does not count as one of those stitches. Now you're going to pull on your tail to cinch it up into your little loop. And then you're going to slip stitch into the top of this first double crochet. And that is the end of round 1. Now for round 2, we're going to be using the same color. I'm switching colors every 2 rounds, but you can do whatever you feel comfortable with. Or you can just use one color if you have a variegated yarn. You're going to chain 2, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets into each stitch. So we're increasing. So in each one of these double crochets here, we're going to do 2 into that same space. So we're going to end up with 24 stitches when we get back to the beginning. I hope you guys really like this tutorial. I have a slight obsession with pineapples. I'm a minimalist, but the decor I do have in my house is pineapples. I don't know why it started when I was in high school. I really don't remember how, but I used to just run around and say pineapple everywhere as just a random word. I was probably one of those weird kids. But for some reason the word just was funny to me. And it just stuck, and people started buying me pineapples as presents, or making me pineapple upside down cake for my birthday. I remember one of my roommates did that when I was in college. And every year my mom gets me like something with a pineapple on it. Like last year it was pineapple socks, and she's gotten me a pineapple little decoration thing that looks like a real pineapple, and my kid keeps trying to eat it. He's like, "There's a pineapple, Mommy, cut it for me." I'm like, that's not a real pineapple. But I just have this obsession with pineapples, so I had to make my child a pineapple hat, even though he's 2 and he'll probably never wear it. You never know. Okay, so we're back at the beginning. We've done 2 double crochets in each one of these, so now we have 24 stitches, and you're going to slip stitch into the very top of that first double crochet again, not counting the chain 2. And I'm gonna have to go get my scissors. All right, so I'm gonna switch colors. So I'm going to cut the yarn right there, and I'll just weave that in later. I'm going to switch to this orangey color. You can kind of see the difference. Here's the yellow. They all are very similar. So we're gonna go on to round 3 with switching colors. So all I'm gonna do is chain 2 with this new color. So 1, 2. And then we're still increasing. So we're going to do 2 double crochet into the first stitch. And you may have to pull on this to tighten it up a little bit. Remember that chain 2 does not count as a double crochet. So 2 double crochet into the first stitch, and then just 1 double crochet into the next stitch. When you get back around, you should have 36 stitches, not counting your chain 2. So we're gonna do 2 double crochet, and then 1. And we're just going to repeat this around. I really hope I have enough of this color yarn. I don't know, I seem to have the best of luck playing yarn chicken lately. I'm currently knitting a pair of socks from a book called Socks from the Toe Up, and I'm playing some serious yarn chicken with that. And I really hope I don't run out, because the yarn I'm using for those socks is discontinued, so I'd have to really hunt to find it, and I hate taking apart my work and starting over. It just annoys me to death because it feels like so much wasted time. So I do not know what I would do if I lost at yarn chicken. If you don't know, yarn chicken is when you don't measure your yarn, or you don't know how much yarn that you have, and you just try to make the project and hope that you have enough. And just like how you play, I guess, chicken with cars, which I would never recommend doing because that's really scary. Or that game like Red Rover, come over. But you don't know if you could hold your arms. You don't know if you're gonna have enough yarn, if you're gonna run out halfway through your project. I'm sure every knitter or crocheter has played yarn chicken. I should probably make a tutorial about how to crochet or knit socks. Let me know if you would be interested in seeing something like that, or if you have any suggestions about things I could knit. I'm about to have a baby. She's due January 29th. By the time this tutorial is posted, since I'm trying to get ahead a little bit so I can take a little bit of a break when I have the baby, she's probably already here. And I'm really nervous because having a baby is wonderful and amazing and beautiful, but it's also kind of scary. All right, so I have finished round 3 and I'm gonna go on to round 4. So now I should have 48 double crochets. I should have 36 double crochets, and we're going to increase to 48. So you want to slip stitch into the very top of that first double crochet. And I'm still going to be using this orangey color. So I'm going to chain 2, and we're going to go on to round 4, where we're going to increase, as I said, to 48 double crochets. So we're going to do 2 double crochets in the first stitch, and then 2 double crochets in the next 2 stitches. So 1 in that one, and 1 in this one. And that's what we're gonna repeat around. We're gonna do an increase, 2 double crochets in one stitch, and then 2 regular double crochets in the next 2 stitches. Let me show you that again. So we're gonna increase, doing 2 double crochets into that same stitch, and then the next 2 stitches, just do 1 double crochet in each stitch. And this should increase to 48 double crochets. I remember when I first started learning how to do this crochet technique in the round with the magic loop, my friend Tori taught me how to do this, and I was baffled. It looked like magic, and it took me, I would say, 6 months to get the hang of it. Just one day it just kind of clicked and it started working. And now it's just kind of like, I don't know, something I can do really well. And I'm really thankful to my friend Tori she was basically the first one to sit down and really teach me crochet. And I also took like a really beginner's class where you just learn like single and half double crochet and stuff. And at that point I was only knitting, and crochet was so hard. But now I like crochet a little better for some things, and I like knitting. It's like they make different things differently well. For example, I don't really like any crocheted sweaters. I'm just not a fan of the way they look, but I love knitted sweaters, and I seem to be more of a fan of crochet hats. I make a lot of those. They just work up a lot faster, and you can go from the top down, so you can size the hat really well as you're working on it. Whereas when you're knitting, usually you knit from the bottom up for a hat. And I prefer, I think, to knit from the top, or make a hat from the top down, which is why crochet really appeals to me for making hats. And there are so many cute crochet plushies out there, and there just aren't as many cute knitted things. It's just my preference. Like, I like crochet for some projects and I like knitting for others. And it's nice to have both skills under my sleeve. For example, you can really make some cute, amazingly pretty and lacy crochet edgings. Where the knitted edgings are a lot more complicated and they also don't look as cohesive. But basically, if you know one skill, you can get by without knowing the other one. I don't know. I like fiber art so much. It feels like something that I can breathe and that I can do without thinking about. I don't know if that makes any sense. Alright, so this is the end of round 4. You should have 48 double crochets, and then you're going to slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet again. And now I'm going to throw my scissors. No, I'm just kidding. Switch yarns again and go on to round 5, which is your last increase row. So you're supposed to use worsted weight yarn, but I ran out of yellow worsted weight yarn, so there's a giant knot in my yarn right now. I'm going to use 2 yellow fingering yarns held together to make up a worsted weight yarn because I don't have money or time to wait on new yarn right now. So you can totally do this if you need a different color of yarn, and I have a lot of fingering yarn, so I'm just gonna hold 2 pieces together, and that's why it may look weird, but it works, I swear. So go ahead and chain 2. And then for our last increase round, we're going to increase to 60 double crochets. So we're going to do 2 double crochets into the first stitch. And then 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, oops, made a mistake. Let's start at 1, 2, 3. That's what we're going to repeat around until we get 60 stitches. You're going to do 2 double crochets, increase in that very first stitch, and then 1, 2, 3 in the next 3 stitches. I probably need to zoom out a little bit so that you guys can see more of the circle. Well, now you guys can't really see the stitches. So increase and then 3. Now, if you're making the adult size hat, you're going to have more increases here for an adult sized head. That's why I recommend downloading the PDF pattern so you can follow along with the written instructions. It does cost 99 cents, but that money goes a long way to helping me and my family and helping fund me buying yarn and making more videos. If you really can't afford the pattern, just send me an email and I would love to have some people test it out for me. Oops. And maybe give me like a review or something on your website or your YouTube channel or just your Facebook. I know not everyone can afford things, and that's why I try to keep everything really, really low, and 99 cents is not much, and there is this free video tutorial as well, because making things is amazing, and I hate it when people, I don't want to say hate, because everyone's different and everyone knows how much effort they put into their work and what it's worth. But there are many patterns that I want to make and that I can't even afford because they're like $10 or $50 for the whole book, and I realize writing a book is like crazy and probably takes years. But there's not many of those things that I can afford, which is one of the reasons why I started really making my own patterns, just because I wanted so desperately to make things. And yet when I was in college just starting out, I was, you know, making cheeseburgers. I didn't have any extra money. So we just keep going around and around and around. And I'm forgetting to count, and I'm just hoping that I'm doing it correctly. So, as I said before, I am due in 2 weeks with my little girl. We already have a little boy and he's 2.5, and my husband gets to take maternity leave this time. So he gets 2 weeks of maternity leave, but it is unpaid. So that's going to be a little difficult, especially since we'll have a gigantic hospital bill. We do have insurance, but it's not very good. We have I believe it's a $10,000 deductible, but don't quote me on that because my husband handles all the insurance stuff. But I just know that I had all of my prenatal appointments last year, so those were all paid on last year's insurance, and it doesn't roll over, like it starts completely over in 2018. So the baby's going to be born this year, and we didn't reach our deductible last year at all. I live in the United States, so I know insurance is different in every country, and some people have taxpayer insurance where it's free, as in it's government sponsored through, I believe, taxes. And I've never had that kind of system, so I don't really know what's better, but I'm just grateful that my husband can take off time from work. All right, so that is the end of round 5. We now have 60 double crochets, and you're going to slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet. And there is the completed very top of your hat. And this is where I'm going to end part 1 of the tutorial. And in part 2, we are going to work the shells of the hat. And then in part 3, we'll go over making the top. So I hope you guys have enjoyed part 1 of the tutorial. Leave me a comment, let me know if you enjoyed it, if there's anything you'd like to see differently, and I will see you guys in part 2.